In class, so before we start, can we stand for the prayer? Miss Mahinay, please lead the prayer. Thank you, Miss Mahinay. So before you take your seats, kindly pick up the pieces of plastics and papers under your chairs and throw it into the trash can, and kindly arrange your chairs. So class, who is absent for today? Okay, thank you. So no one is absent for today. Very good. So let us have a short recap. Can anyone tell me what we discussed last meeting? Yes, Miss Buntuyan. Okay, thank you, Miss Buntuyan. Very good. Last meeting, we discussed about short stories. Last meeting, I have given you an assignment which is to read in advance the story of Romeo and Juliet. Before we move on to our next topic, I have here a set of pictures from the story Romeo and Juliet. This picture contains the scenario from the story. So kindly group yourselves into 5, consisting of 6 members each group. I will give each group set of pictures. After that, brainstorm with your group mates and share to the class what you have noticed from the pictures. Thank you everyone for participating actively, and thank you for sharing your thoughts and what you have noticed from the pictures. So class, what do you think is our topic for today? Yes, Mr. Tayo? I need another idea. Yes, Mr. Rejos? Okay, very good. Our topic for today is all about elements of plot. So I have here illustrations of elements of plot.
The elements of plot are exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and denouement.
So first, what is plot?
Plot is what happens in a story or play. It is the action and the connected series of events.
Introduction.
Introduction establishes characters and setting. It is where we meet the main character or characters and understand the setting. So in this part, the characters are being introduced and where the story happened.
The second element of plot is the rising action.
Rising action is the part of the story where the events begin to create suspense as the character faces conflicts, includes the events that help to build towards the climax of the story.
So now let us move on to the third element of plot, which is climax.
Climax is the peak of the action. At this point, we watch the main character confront the conflict, and something major has to come ahead.
Next element of plot, next to climax, is falling action. So what is falling action?
In falling action, we see things start to wind down. It is what happens near end of the story after the climax, and it is the resolution of the major conflict.
The last element of plot is resolution, or also called the denouement.
The resolution or the denouement is the final part. Plots are drawn together and matters are resolved.
Okay, so that was plot and its element. So, do you have any further clarifications and questions about our discussion for today? Okay, so there are no questions and further clarifications. Seems like you understand our discussion for today. Okay, so I have here video clips from the movie Romeo and Juliet. After that, you will tell me what is its introduction, rising action, climax, falling action, and denouement. Okay, so based on the video clips, can anyone tell me what is the introduction of the story Romeo and Juliet? Yes, Miss Abeliana. Okay, very good, Miss Abeliana. So the introduction of the story Romeo and Juliet is when the Montagues and Capulets fight in the streets and Verona. So the prince threatens them with death if they will disturb the peace again, and there Romeo meets Juliet. Now let us move on to the rising action. Yes, Mr. Devasol? Yes, that was correct. Very good, Mr. Devasol. So the rising action of the story is when Romeo and Juliet fell in love with each other. Romeo then killed Tybalt and was banished. Friar Lawrence tried to help them by giving Juliet a potion that will let her sleep as if dead. Now let us move on to the climax of the story. So can anyone tell me if what is the climax of the story Romeo and Juliet? Okay, thank you, Miss Buntilaw. That was correct. The climax of the story is when Romeo returned to Verona thinking that Juliet is dead. Romeo then poisons himself and Juliet awakes seeing Romeo dead. Juliet then kills herself with the use of Romeo's word. Now who can tell me what is the falling action of the story? Okay, thank you, Miss Minister. That was correct. So the falling action of the story is when their parents find them both dead, and then Friar Lawrence explains to them what really happened. Now the last part, which is the denouement. Who can tell me what is the denouement or the resolution of the story? Okay, thank you, Miss Enoch. That was correct. The denouement or the resolution of the story is when both families, the Capulets and the Montagues, reconciled and build a statue in honor of their death. Okay, so now you really understand the elements of the plot. Kindly prepare one whole sheet of paper. I will give you copies of the story The Little Prince, and you make a plot out of the story. Its introduction, falling action, climax, falling action, and denouement. For those who are done, kindly pass your papers to the front. And for those who are not yet finished, you still have 10 minutes. Are all papers in? Okay, thank you so much. Now for your assignment, read the story Beowulf and make a plot. Label its introduction, rising action, climax, falling action, and denouement. Okay, thank you, class. Let's call it a day. You are dismissed.